I'm Katrina, and in this video I'm going to show you how to integrate WooCommerce into a non-WooThemes WordPress theme. So I initially got this request from Safa. Thank you, Safa, so much for the great suggestion. I think this is one that many of us can benefit from, since many of us are using a non-WooThemes WordPress theme and we'd like to add e-commerce to our website using the WooCommerce plugin. So in many cases, when we install WooCommerce right out of the box, everything's going to look really nicely and you'll be good to go. There are instances, however, if your theme is not integrated with WooCommerce, that when you install this plugin, the layout is going to shift and things are not going to look just exactly as they should. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to correct that and how to integrate your theme with the WooCommerce plugin. So here we are on my website. This is a Blue Chic developed website. When I first installed this particular theme, the theme is not integrated with the WooCommerce plugin. So here we see I've added WooCommerce as well as some products. So when I go to my shop page, we'll see those products that I've added. Here they are right here. But as we can see, the sidebar has dropped to the bottom of the page, which is not exactly how I want this to be displayed. Of course, I want my sidebar to be displayed on the right-hand side at the top where it should be displayed right here. Also note that when I go to a product page by clicking on this thumbnail image right here, the same thing happens. I have the image of my product, the title, and the buy button, but once again, the sidebar has dropped to the bottom of the page. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to correct that. The other thing I want to point out is that this particular WooCommerce plugin, I'm currently using version 2.0.20. That's the current version of WooCommerce that I'm using, and this particular version is not responsive, which means that it's not exactly mobile friendly. Now, WooThemes, the developer of the WooCommerce plugin, has announced that in the next release of this particular plugin, in version 2.1, they will be adding a style sheet that will add responsiveness to the WooCommerce plugin, which is really great. At the moment, however, the version of WooCommerce that I'm using is version 2.0.20 and it's not responsive. So as we see here, when I reduce the size of my window and I turn it into a smartphone view, here we see that actually here on the product page, we see that we still can see things rather well, even though it's kind of like shifted 50% of the page here is just the thumbnail, and then we have the title and the buy button. But where things get a little bit tricky is when we go to the shop page, then we see that we really do need to have WooCommerce be responsive. Because here we are on the shop page, and now the three products that I have are really small. They're all displayed horizontally, and the worst part about this is that the buy buttons, the read more buttons, are one on top of, they're overlapping. So that's not exactly how I want this to be displayed either. It would be so much better if this was all displayed vertically so that each product was stacked one on top of the other, and of course the buttons were not overlapping like this. So this is the after view. After we've completed the steps we'll take in this video, this is what we can expect. So here we see when I click on the shop page, in this particular demo, I've integrated the theme with my WooCommerce plugin, and now we can see we have the products right here lined up really nicely, and on the right-hand side we have the sidebar, which is really great. Also, when I go to an individual product page by clicking on that right here, once again we have the product, the title, and the buy button, and again the sidebar is showing up right where it needs to be displayed on the right-hand side. Also, this is now responsive because I've also made WooCommerce responsive in this particular version. So when I come to the bottom right-hand side and minimize the screen size, now we see on the product page, we see that the image right here is stacked on top of the title and the buy button, and everything else is stacked on top of one another as well, which is really great. Also, when we go to the shop page, and that was the main page that was kind of causing issues in the previous example, the previous preview, now we see those three different products, instead of lining up horizontally with the buttons overlapping, now as I want them to be, they're responsive and they're stacking up really nicely, one on top of the other, and the buttons to purchase or to check out the product pages are also now not overlapping, which is really great. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you two things. Number one, how to integrate WooCommerce with your WordPress website theme, and I'm also going to be showing you how to make WooCommerce responsive within your theme as well. So let's get started. So here we are on my WordPress dashboard, and as we can see at the top, there's this message that says, your theme does not declare WooCommerce support. If you encounter layout issues, please read our integration guide or choose a WooCommerce theme. So we're going to be using this integration guide here to integrate our theme with the WooCommerce plugin. So I'm going to click on this button right here, Theme Integration Guide. Which brings us to this page on the WooThemes website, third-party custom non-WooCommerce theme compatibility. And on this page, we have instructions on how to integrate our theme with the WooCommerce plugin. Now, there's two different ways to resolve our issue, as it notes right here. We can use hooks, or we can use the catch-all WooCommerce _content function inside our theme. So in this video, I'm going to be using this solution, the WooCommerce content solution, since this is a much easier solution than using hooks. As it notes, hooks are for advanced users and developers. To use the WooCommerce content solution, there are 3 steps. Step number 1, we need to duplicate our theme's page.php file. Step number 2, we need to rename the duplicate as WooCommerce.php. And step number 3, as we scroll down right here, we can see we need to replace the loop. So we'll be looking for code that looks like this, and we'll be replacing it with WooCommerce code that looks like this right here. So let's take care of step number 1, which is duplicating our theme's page.php file. So to duplicate page.php file, we actually need to go into our FTP program. So I'm just going to go into my FTP program here. Now I've already logged in. If you need any help getting your FTP up and running, you can see the other video that I created on this topic. So I have another video on my YouTube channel that shows you how to create an FTP account, how to log in, and how to find your files. So if you haven't yet created an FTP account, please see that video first and then come back here and join us once we are in our FTP program. So I've already logged in. Here I am on my FTP program right here, and the file that we want is found in the WP-content folder. So I'm just going to double click on this to open that folder. Then I want to go to themes. So I'm going to click on my themes folder right here. And then we want to find the theme that you are using. Now I'm using this theme, the Adele theme. So I'm going to click on this. Whatever theme you're using, of course, you want to click on the folder name for your theme. So I'm going to click on Adele. That's the theme I'm using. Then when I scroll down here, you can see here is the file that we're looking for. It's called page.php. So even if you're using a different theme than I am, if you're not using the Adele theme, no worries. You should also have a page.php file in your theme files right here. So the easiest way to do this is I'm going to drag this file to my desktop so I can see it. So I'm just going to drag it over here and drop it on my desktop. Then I get this message, and I'm just going to click on continue to continue transferring the file to my desktop. And once the download has completed, I'm just going to close this box here by clicking on this red X right there. Okay, so now we can see on my desktop I have the page.php file. So the second step is we need to rename this file to WooCommerce.php. So to do that, I'm just going to click really lightly on this word right here, and we can see that it highlights right there, and I'm just going to call it WooCommerce.php. And once I've named the file now as WooCommerce.php, then I'm going to transfer it back into my theme files by dragging the file from my desktop over to my FTP program right here. So I'm just going to drag it over and release it, and then it should begin transferring back into my theme files. Once I get this message, are you sure you want to continue? Yes, I do. So I'll click on continue. And now we see that the transfer has been completed. So I'm going to close this box right here. And now we can see I have this new theme file down below, WooCommerce.php. So we've now completed steps number 1 and 2. There's one step left, which is step number 3, which is we need to replace the loop in our new WooCommerce.php file. So to replace the loop, I'm going to close my FTP program right here. And now we need to go back to our website. So here I am back on my dashboard, and we need to go to Appearance Editor. So here we are on the Edit Themes screen, and as we can see all of our different theme files here that make up our website. So in general, it's a good idea not to touch any of these files, and if you want to customize or change any of these files, it's a good idea to create a child theme. So if you'd like to create a child theme, I created another video on my YouTube channel that walks you step by step through the process of creating a child theme. In this particular video, I'm not going to create a child theme because we're going to be customizing the WooCommerce.php file, which is not a file that comes with my theme. So, for example, the main reason that we want to create a child theme is that when we customize any kind of code in these files here, then what could happen when you later get an update from the developer, your theme customizations may be lost if you have not yet created a child theme. Again, I go over all of this in more detail in my other video on child themes. In this particular instance though, we are changing the WooCommerce.php file, which is a file that does not come with my theme. It's an independent file that we just created. So for that reason, when we adjust this or customize this file, it will not be changed or overwritten when you update your theme because it's not a theme file that comes with your theme. It's an extra theme file we've just added. So I'm just going to click on this link here, woocommerce.php, to open up this file, and here we have the woocommerce.php file. So we need to edit the loop. As we see when we go back to the directions here, it says we need to replace the loop. We need to find the loop. The loop usually starts with this code here, PHP if have post, and it usually ends with PHP end if. So we need to find this code here and we need to replace it with this WooCommerce code right here. So I'm just going to highlight this code. This is the code that we want. I'm going to highlight it and copy it, and then I'm going to go back to my woocommerce.php file and I'm going to find the loop. So here we can see it starts right here, PHP if have post. That's the beginning of the loop. And here is the end of the loop down here that says PHP end while end if. So in order to customize the woocommerce.php file, we need to delete this entire loop right here. So I'm copying all of this code. Once again, it starts with PHP if have post right here, and it ends with PHP end while end if. So your theme may have something similar or perhaps even the same exact code, and that is what you want to select, and we're going to delete it. So I'm going to delete this code altogether by just clicking on the delete button, and now in its place I need to add my WooCommerce code that I just copied in the previous step. So I'm just going to copy it right there, and now you can see we simply have just really not much code anymore on this file, but this will replace the page code with our new WooCommerce code right here. So once you've added the WooCommerce content code where it needs to go and you've replaced the loop, then just scroll to the bottom and click on Update File to update your woocommerce.php file. Okay, so the file has been edited successfully, so now let's check out our website. I'm going to go up to my site here and click on Visit Site. Then I'm going to check out the Shop page by clicking on Shop. And now we see we have my 3 products here and the sidebar is right where it needs to be on the right-hand side. Also, when I click on the product page by clicking on this thumbnail image, for example, now we see the product page, which once again, now the product thumbnail, the title, and the buy button are on the left-hand side, and the sidebar is exactly where we want it to be. So everything looks really good, and now the theme has been integrated with the WooCommerce plugin. So going back to the dashboard here, I'm going to click on Dashboard. Here on the dashboard, we see that we still have this message that says your theme does not declare WooCommerce support. Now we've already integrated WooCommerce with our theme and we've tested it, so we know that everything is working well. The only catch now is that we need to let the theme know that we do have WooCommerce support. So you can do that in 2 ways. You can either click on hide this notice to simply hide the notice, or if you want to actually declare support via these instructions here, then we can do that as well. So as it notes here, to declare WooCommerce support, once you're happy that your theme fully supports WooCommerce, you should declare it in the code to hide the message that we saw in purple on our dashboard. So to hide that message, we can simply copy this code right here. So I'm just going to highlight this code and copy it. And then I'm going to go back to my WordPress website right here. I'm going to go to Appearance and Editor. Then here on the Edit Themes page, I'm going to click on this file right here that says Theme Functions, functions.php. Here on the functions.php file, I'm going to scroll to the bottom of this particular file right here, all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to paste the code that I copied in the previous step. So I'm just going to go to the last line here and paste the add theme support for WooCommerce. Also note that I'm not adding any more spaces or paragraphs underneath this. This is literally the last line of the entire file. So once we have that good to go, I'm going to click on Update File to update the file. Once a file has been edited successfully, we see that now this message is no longer there, and we've removed this message because we've declared support for WooCommerce. Now that we've integrated the theme with the WooCommerce plugin, the next step is to make WooCommerce responsive. So once again, we're using WooCommerce version 2.0.20. If you're using version 2.1 of WooCommerce, you may not need this next step. So right now, when I go to my website by clicking on Visit Site, now we see when I click on the shop page, I can see all of my different products right here, and this looks good. However, when I minimize the screen size and turn it into a smartphone view like this, we can see these buttons are kind of on top of each other, and all the products are really tiny and they're horizontally in one row. So what I want to do now is I want to make WooCommerce responsive so that these products on the shop page will stack vertically and the buttons will not be on top of one another like this. So in order to make WooCommerce responsive, the next step is we need to come to this website, Nomine Web Creations, to get the style sheet code provided by Alexis on GitHub. So a big shout out to Alexis. Thank you so much for providing this code. This is really, really helpful. We want to come here, and right here where it says you can download the updated style sheet here, and there's a link. I'm going to click on this button here for here to go to the code, and this is the code that we're going to need. So I am going to copy all of this by highlighting this entire code right here, and then I'm going to copy it. So I've highlighted it and copied it. And the next step is we need to go back to our FTP program. So I'm going to open that up right here. And here on my FTP program, we have to go to the style sheet for WooCommerce. So to find that, here I am on my FTP program. I'm going to click on this folder, WP-content. Then I'm going to go to the plugins folder right here. So I'm going to double click on plugins. Then I'm going to click on WooCommerce. And then I'm going to click on this folder called Assets. And then in the Assets folder of WooCommerce here, there's another folder for CSS. So I'm going to click on CSS. And the file that we need is this one right here, woocommerce.css. So once again, I'm going to drag this to my desktop. So I'm just going to drag it over to my desktop so it's easy to find. Are you sure you want to transfer this file? Yes, I'm going to click on Continue. And once the download has been completed to my desktop, now I can close this box here by just clicking on this red box. And now I have the woocommerce.css file on my desktop. So the next thing is I need to open this file and I need to edit it. So I'm on a Mac. I'm going to use the free text edit program on my Mac. You could also use, if you're on a Notepad, I think Notepad is for PCs. So if you're on a PC, you can use Notepad. I'm going to use TextEdit since I'm on a Mac, so I'm just going to open up this program. Then once TextEdit has been opened, then I'm going to go to File and I'm going to click on Open, and I'm going to open the woocommerce.css file. So here it is right here. I'm just going to click on that and click on Open. And here we have the woocommerce.css file. So I am going to literally copy all of that and delete it. I have copied all of this code right here that Alexis provided on GitHub. So all of that code that I copied in the previous step, now I'm just going to paste it directly into this file right here. So this is the woocommerce.css, the new code that includes the responsive style sheet. So of course, if you'd like, you can make a copy of this if you'd like to have a backup. I am just going to leave it as is because I know that I've copied all the code right here from GitHub. And then I'm just going to click on Save to save this file. Now that I have WooCommerce.css saved, I can close this file. The last step here, of course, is that I need to transfer this new WooCommerce.css file over to this page right here. Now, if you wanted to create a backup just to play it safe, you could simply just rename this file right here. We can call this is the old version or the previous version or the first version. I'll just call it old version. You don't have to do this. You could just overwrite this altogether. But anyway, I'm just going to just make a note to myself. This is now not active because no file within my code is being directed to this. So this is simply, I've just created this as a backup for myself. You don't really need to do that. You could just simply take this new copy right here of WooCommerce.css. This is the one we want. You can just drag it over to your FTP program and you can copy it. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes, continue. Okay, so the upload has been completed. So I'm going to close this. And now we see here we have my new version right here, WooCommerce.css, and here is the old version. So we really don't need this old version. I just created this backup in case you want it. It's not needed and it's not working right now because it has this really strange name. So the main one that works, because all of the theme files are looking for this file, WooCommerce.css. Okay, so now that we're good to go on that, let's check out our website. So I'm going to go back to my website right here and I'm going to refresh the page by clicking on the shop button one more time. Once a page has been refreshed, now we can test the responsiveness by minimizing the screen size by just coming to the bottom right hand corner and dragging it to the left hand side. And now we can see that all of our images are stacked really nicely, one on top of the other, and our WooCommerce installation is now responsive. So that is really great. That looks so much better. All the calls to action, the buttons are now no longer overlapping. Instead, we can read them really clearly, stacked vertically on my shop page. When we go to a product page by just clicking on one of these images right here, we'll also see something similar where the image is stacked really nicely on top of the product title and the buy button and then the other product descriptions. One thing I want to note really quickly is that here in the instructions provided by Alexis, in addition to adding the custom CSS to WooCommerce.css file, Alexis also adds that in addition to updating the style sheet by downloading that button and clicking here, he also suggests to add this code here to your functions.php file. Now, before creating this video, I actually did that, and it turned out that the result wasn't exactly the way I needed it to be. So in this video, I did not add this code to my functions.php file, and everything looks really good simply by updating the style sheet, going through the steps that I just showed you in the last couple minutes. So I am not going to be adding any of this code here to my functions.php file, but I just want to make a mention of that in case you read more about that on this page and you're wondering why I didn't add anything to my functions.php file. So once again, I didn't add it because I didn't need it. All I needed was the style sheet info right here and I'm good to go. So going back to my website, here we are. Everything looks really good. In this video, we have integrated the WooCommerce plugin with our WordPress website theme. So now all the layout looks just as it needs to look. The sidebar is back on the right-hand side where it should be, and that looks great. Also, I've shown you how to make your WooCommerce installation responsive so that all the products line up really nicely when you are looking at your website either on a mobile device or on a laptop or on a desktop. So there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like the video, comment on the video, or share the video with your friends. And I will be coming out with more videos related to WordPress and how to grow your business on the web. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you, Safa, for the great suggestion, and thanks to everyone for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video.